I always think it's absolutely amazing how many stories are always tied at once, because that's what I do. I've done it my entire adult life, kind of like dissecting stories for an audience. Who's interested in what? How does it affect your life? It's amazing how many common ties pop up all the time. Like this one. Just as President Trump and the entire entourage, apparently, and family members, it tells you how big this important meeting is, are right now in China to meet with Xi Jinping and all the Chinese officials about all kinds of stuff and trade deals and all this other thing in Iran, and what are we going to do? How are we going to split up the oil? While this is going on, we have right now a mayor, now former mayor, of an American city charged with spying for China. You can't make it up. So it begs the question, as these two stories come across, does Trump bring it up to Xi Jinping during this meeting today in Beijing? We better freaking hope so. I hope one of the reporters comes out of this meeting saying, President Trump, did you discuss the mayor of Arcadia, California being a Chinese spy with Chinese President Xi Jinping? I hope Trump's response is something like, I brought it up to Xi. I said, you got to get the spies out of the country. Not good, not good. We bet, or something, stronger than that. I hope so anyway, but we'll get to this. You couldn't make this up. Anyway, we'll get to it. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio. We'll get to all the details here in a second. Some business first, the live stream, then the replay on X and YouTube and Facebook and the audio podcast where most of you find this. All of your favorite platforms, check them out there. Now, you're probably not going to believe me because if you haven't seen the headline, if you didn't have time to pay that much attention to news, especially out of your own community this week, just so you know I'm not making it up, let me give you the Southern California news station's report on this. I don't usually like to play a reporter's wrap-up of something, but here you go, because it describes it perfectly.
SoCal mayor by day, secret Chinese agent by night. Bombshell charges rocking a Southland city after its mayor suddenly resigns her post and agrees to plead guilty to federal charges of being a foreign agent of China. And this stunning revelation coming just as President Donald Trump is set to travel to China this week to meet.
Yes, exactly. Two stories coming together. We have Chinese spies in mayoral positions in American Californian cities in Southern California. Apparently, it's like I think we can call it a suburb of L.A. as he's meeting with China. I'll say it again like I did in the introduction. I hope he brings this up because it's just not one isolated case, as we're learning. But yeah, it's all happening. No, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on. We got this lady in this city. And I've learned a lot more than I ever knew about Arcadia, California. Maybe you know the community. Apparently it has a huge Chinese American and Southeastern Asia population in the city itself. So it makes sense. That's not the shocking part that a Chinese mayor, Chinese naturalized citizen, by the way, mayor, would be elected mayor of this California town. That all makes sense. But have you ever seen anything like this? Let's go to her campaign video back in 2020, which is when she was elected. Hold on. Side note, very important here. 2020? What else was going on in 2020? What else were we told? Was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. We were distracted by idiot health officials telling us to, shut down our business, mask up alone in cars. Remember that whole time? We were a little distracted in 2020, which is why a lot of these people got elected. Have you noticed now, all these years later, how many people that got elected now have been exposed for fraud, espionage, other things? Anyway, it's an important part of the story, but maybe this is a little bit shocking. Here's her actual campaign ad. Got her elected in California.
王爱玲，我是2022年 Arcadia 第3区市议员候选人，我将致力于为全体市民争取权益，努力提高企业信心，平衡。
Now you're saying, I didn't understand that at all. That's okay. You don't speak Chinese. You don't speak Mandarin. That was her ad. Should anybody be surprised by this? Now, that's not enough. No, that's not enough to say, oh, you can't elect somebody like that. No, that's it. Again, naturalized American citizen. Born and raised in China, that's okay. She's part of a community that has a lot of Chinese Americans in it. Makes total sense so far. It does make sense, believe it or not, that her campaign ad would be on local TV in Arcadia, California, in only Chinese, with the Star Spangled Banner in the background, which I thought was kind of amazing. But it's more than that. Let's go back to the news story. Okay, exactly what did she do wrong? How can you actually come out and say that this mayor, an elected mayor of a city, was committing espionage and was a Chinese spy? How can you actually say that? And a lot of people are already saying, oh, come on. Well, it's not the biggest American city, Arcadia, California. Yeah, but it's an American city. Anyway, I digress. Here's more of the charges.
According to prosecutors, Wang worked with Chinese officials from 2020 to 2022, pushing pro-China messaging through a community news website without disclosing those alleged ties.
She executed directives. She did what they told her to do. They'll give her praise for how well she's doing, and she'll say, "Thank you, leader."
I state your name, Eileen Wang.
The accusations a stark contrast to just months ago.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Spoke perfect English there, at least, through an accent, but that's fine. That's nothing but as calling the Chinese officials leader, doing this. Apparently she did it through a lot of messaging and a lot of propaganda that happened here. And I guess a lot of this was all based around some sort of publication she had and getting it out to her community. Direct messaging that she was ordered to get out there and say by the Chinese officials back in Beijing, the CCP. It's an amazing story. But you got to figure, there's no way this just came out of the blue. There's no possible way this came out that somebody in her community, neighbors even, as mayor, she's got to live there, would have known that she's got ties to the CCP back home and was taking orders from them. And possibly, they haven't even gotten into the campaign finance funds of her yet. They haven't even gotten into those charges yet. But somebody must have known also in that town, not just the residents. They have to have a city council, right? They have to have other politicians, former politicians, people that know, how small cities are. They know the ins and outs. They know everybody. They know all their dirt. That's how small town politics work. Somebody had to have known that this lady was on the take, or at the very least, very heavily influenced by the CCP back in China, right? As it turns out, exactly right. Here's one of the Arcadia City Council members, Sharon Kwan. She knew this and tried to warn the city and other council members about the Chinese spy that eventually became mayor.
Say that the outcome was entirely surprising.
Councilwoman Sharon Kwan says she tried in chaotic city council meetings to raise suspicions of Mayor Wang's actions, but faced resistance.
It's just very important to protect democracy here. And so, and just to ensure that there's no foreign influence.
Anybody disagree with her? There's an actual city council member in Arcadia, California, telling people, other council members, other town officials, other people who live in that city, the residents, that hey, you better not vote for Eileen Wang because she's an actual Chinese spy. Nope. Nobody listened to her and that gets to really what this is all about, isn't it? There are always signs. Don't let anybody ever, when you raise suspicions, when you ask questions, don't let them call you a conspiracy theorist or a boomer or just a xenophobe or whatever the hell you want to say, or any kind of a racist. Forget the name calling, because you know more than they do. If people were allowed to ask the correct questions, this lady never would have been elected in 2020. Personally, I think what we were going through in 2020 had a big part to do with it. Probably nobody came out. Remember, this is California. You want to talk about lockdowns then? Oh my God, they faced them worse than anybody, I think, from what I understand. So maybe a lot of people didn't even vote, and that's how she becomes mayor of California town. All right, now, she's not the only one talking about it, but she's also not the only mayor. You would have to imagine that this is going on. The shame of this whole thing is there are great, let's just talk about, naturalized Chinese Americans here. There are some great people who came, who literally escaped communism from that country to come here to build a life, to become a leader. And now, because of Eileen Wang, CCP spy mayor of Arcadia, California, now they're going to get the side eye and the different look and harder to get elected and harder to get jobs. That's just a matter of fact, because this story is so bizarre and so huge. There's a great Chinese American lady. Her name is Lily Tang Williams. She's from the great state, Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, who's running for, again, a congressional seat with the GOP there. She has said this for years. I've followed her for years. She has talked about, and this is a little scary, the Chinese influence in every single sector of American life. She's talked about, politics, big and small towns, like in California. She's talked about American farmland, American businesses, the money that's going on here. You need to understand, this isn't just a story of, and this is why I want Trump to bring it up today, this isn't just a story of a small-town American mayor getting elected and then being exposed as a Chinese spy. Talk to anybody that creates anything. Chinese tentacles from the CCP are in every aspect of American life and business. Try to talk to anybody that's written a book and sells it on Amazon. Intellectual property of any kind. And this is just one small example. They will literally steal all of the content, redo it, and sell it on their own at a cheaper price. That's a small example of what's been going on for years. That's why this trip to China is so much more than just trade deals. It's everything. Lily Tang Williams, again, in New Hampshire, has been talking about this forever. They went to her to talk about it in this interview. First, a little setup, and then Lily Tang talks about it.
China may be trying to groom former Chinese nationals into U.S. government officials. My next guest says it could be part of what she calls China's soft power invasion. What was your reaction when you heard the mayor of Arcadia pled guilty to acting as a foreign agent for China?
Well, I'm not surprised at all. I'm glad that the FBI and finally arrest her and convict her. I have been warning people for 10 years what the CCP's long-term plan is for United States to infiltrate, to conquer from within without fire one shot. I lived in China for 24 years and grew up there, so I know their true colors. I'm just glad that finally, this brought to the light and to the public. And there's a lot more. Now, I've been warning, there's probably potentially 30,000 to 80,000 spies that also come in from open border, southern border in the past 45 years. And where are they now? Are they part of?
That's Lily Tang Williams. Now, she has said she's tried to warn people in public life for the last 10 years. I've followed her for a long time because I have so many ties to New England still so much family up there, and I'm rooting for them. Wake up, New Hampshire. Vote for her for Congress. But she's right. But did you catch what she said there about specifically, not just business, CCP spies in the country? Lily Tang Williams, who would know, by the way, who has an inside track on the knowledge of this kind of stuff because they've tried to reach out to her as well and influence her. She thinks there are 30 to 60,000 spies in this country. Now, you hear about that, and you hear about an American mayor being exposed as a Chinese spy. What about that is surprising? Of course, when you've got them buying up American farmland, open real estate everywhere, the intellectual property theft I've talked about forever, now into politics. Before, and she's a perfect example to talk about this, Lily Tang Williams, and she talked about that, about the open borders. And then everybody turned on her and they said, that's crazy. You're one of those MAGA Republicans that blames everything on open borders. You're a xenophobe, they even called her, for calling out these so-called conspiracies about Chinese influence in every aspect of American life. They called her a xenophobe, a lady that escaped Chinese communism in her 20s, came to this country with nothing, built up a business, is now running for Congress. That's who they called a xenophobe. This is why you got to push back. Anybody that questions anything, that pushes back about your questions, I should say, about all of this stuff and the Chinese influence, you have to push back. Which brings us to the presidential trip today. President Trump, I better freaking hope, brings this up to Xi Jinping directly. It's a big story. It's a growing story. I hope Trump sits down with him when they're talking about everything else, about what to do about Iran, the trade deal, the sanctions, what are we going to do with the oil, what's going on with everything that they're going to talk about on the agenda with the Beijing trip that starts today. I hope this is one of the topics. Literally, I want Trump to sit down with Xi and say, Xi, you got to stop getting mayors elected in America. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Bad. Can't have spies. Can't have spies as mayor. It's bad. It's bad. I hope he does. Or something. Anything. And if we have one of these White House press reporters also on the trip, there's a whole junket that's over there to cover this thing. They better frickin' make the connection and ask this, because this isn't just an isolated Arcadia, California story. Ask about this. President Trump, you're aware of the story? Yes, I am. Did you talk to Xi about it? Yeah, I talked to him. I sat him down. I said, it's bad. Can't have it. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? If we have anybody worth anything in the American press, they will ask him about this story. There is a connection. It's not small. It's not at all. Listen to Lily Tang Williams in New Hampshire running for Congress. She knows 30 to 60,000 spies in the country. What? My God. Let's hope so anyway. And I think they will. So we'll get an update on that. Tomorrow we'll have more on the Chinese trip. I hope there's some great progress there. We really do. Did you see any coverage from this thing from all of them, by the way, as a side note? Who's on this thing on Air Force One? All of them. I think the entire Trump family is on this trip, which makes sense. It's a big deal. Elon posted something this morning. He said, I'm on my way to Beijing. Okay. Stephen Miller's there, all the Trump kids. It's a big one. Which tells you the importance of this thing. Let's just hope that he doesn't let this fly by the wayside. American mayor charged with spying. Good God, for China. Let's hope so. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. And by the time this happens, maybe this is all settled anyway. He's already talked about it when you watch this on the replay on X and YouTube and Facebook. And the audio podcast, as always posted when we wrap up here right after the live stream, whatever platform you like to get your audio on and listen. Thanks for being with me. And thanks for those subscribes. I really appreciate it. And follows. I appreciate it as always. Make it a wicked awesome midweek. Be safe. Don't elect any Chinese spies as mayor wherever you live, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.